The rain fell across the strict HOA neighborhood like a curtain of cold needles. Every house looked perfect, every driveway spotless, every window glowing with warm lights. But outside, the streets felt colder than a grave. Jason Hale drove slowly through the community, the wipers struggling against the heavy downpour. His 6-year-old son, Noah, sat in the back seat, hugging his school bag like a small shield. After his wife passed away 2 years ago, Jason did everything alone. School runs, late-night fevers, forgotten lunch boxes, bedtime stories. But he never complained. Noah was all he had left. As Jason reached the old bus stop near the HOA boundary, something caught his eye. 2 figures sitting on the edge of the wet bench, barely moving. An old man, an old woman, both drenched, trembling, holding a single small suitcase like it was the last piece of their life. Jason slowed the car. For a moment he thought maybe he was imagining things. But then Noah leaned forward and whispered, his small voice cracking with confusion, "Daddy, why is Grandpa and Grandma sitting in the rain?" Jason's chest tightened. He didn't know these people, but the sight of them, fragile and alone in the storm, hit him in a place inside his heart he thought had turned to stone. He pulled the car to the side. Cars behind him honked impatiently. SUVs swerved around him. One sports car splashed muddy rainwater on the elderly couple and didn't even slow down. HOA guards stood a few meters away under a big umbrella, whispering into their radios, glancing at the couple like they were trash left on the road. Jason felt something heavy rise in his chest. A protective instinct. A memory of his late wife's voice saying, "Jason, never walk away when someone needs help. Never." He stepped out of the car into the freezing rain. Noah pressed his face to the window, watching with wide, scared eyes. Jason approached the couple slowly. "Sir? Ma'am? Are you okay?" The old woman lifted her head like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Her eyes were swollen, red, exhausted. We're waiting," she whispered. "Our son lives here. He was supposed to pick us." Jason looked around. "Is he running late? Can I call him?" The old man shook his head. His lips trembled as he tried to speak but couldn't. The old woman placed her frail hand gently on her husband's shoulder and answered instead. "He told us we can't come inside. The HOA won't allow us." Jason felt the words hit him like thunder. He glanced at the HOA gate, the tall steel arch, the gold letters, the expensive security system scanning faces and number plates. The perfect paradise for perfect people. But behind all the shine lived rules sharper than knives. Still refusing entry to your own parents? Jason couldn't breathe for a second. Noah pushed open the car door and stepped out into the rain, his tiny shoes splashing. He ran to Jason and grabbed his hand. "Daddy, help them," he whispered. "They look like Nana and Nana used to." Jason swallowed hard. He bent down beside the couple. "Why won't the HOA allow you in?" The old man finally found his voice. It was soft, breaking with each word. "They say visitors need approval. Our son never requested it. He said he didn't want trouble. He told us to wait here. In this rain." Jason whispered, shocked. The old woman nodded. "He said HOA rules are strict. We don't want him fined. We don't want to be a burden." Jason felt anger rush through him like fire. Burden? This couple had spent their whole life raising a child who now treated them like strangers. And the HOA, these people standing under umbrellas warm and dry, watched them suffer and did nothing. One of the guards shouted, "Sir, you can't help them. They are not cleared for entry." Jason turned sharply. "They're human beings sitting in the rain. They're cold." The guard smirked. "Not our problem. Rules are rules." Jason walked back to the couple. "Let me take you somewhere dry, please." The old woman looked terrified. "If our son sees us leaving, he'll be angry." Jason clenched his jaw. "Your safety is more important than his anger." He gently lifted the small suitcase. It was old, faded, and light, too light for 2 people who had traveled far. Inside it was probably everything they had left. The old man tried to stand, but his legs shook violently. Jason quickly held his arm. "It's okay. I've got you." Noah held the old woman's hand, trying his best to help even though the rain made him shiver. Together they guided the couple to the car. The HOA guards whispered behind them. Jason ignored every word. He opened the back door, and Noah slid aside to make space. The old woman sat slowly, wincing as her back touched the seat. The old man followed, his breath shallow. Jason turned the heater on and shut the door. When he stepped back toward the driver's seat, a guard approached, blocking his way. "Sir, you're making a mistake. HOA won't like this." Jason stared at him, rain sliding down his face like cold fire. "I don't care. They're sun-signed documents," the guard said. He agreed, no visitors without approval. "You could be fined for interfering." Fined? Jason wanted to laugh. Fines were nothing compared to humanity. He pushed past the guard and sat behind the wheel. Noah whispered from the back, "Daddy, are they okay?" Jason looked into the mirror. The old woman tried to smile, but tears mixed with rain on her wrinkled cheeks. The old man held Noah's hand gently, as if holding on to a piece of hope he thought he lost. Jason spoke softly, "You're safe now." As he drove away, he heard the guards talking into their radios. "Resident Hale is transporting unauthorized guests. Board will want to hear this. Prepare violation notice." Jason tightened his grip on the wheel. He didn't know what storm he had just stepped into, but he knew one thing: this moment, this act of kindness was going to start a war with the HOA. And the HOA never backed down. But neither did Jason when it came to protecting the innocent. He drove toward his small house at the edge of the neighborhood, the only house without new paint, without expensive landscaping, without fancy decorations. After his wife's death, he couldn't afford upgrades, and the HOA constantly sent him letters reminding him of every violation. But now his home became a shelter for two forgotten souls. When he reached the driveway, Noah opened his umbrella and walked with the couple toward the door. The old man walked slowly, each step a struggle. Jason supported him carefully. Inside the warm glow of the living room, the couple finally relaxed. Jason fetched blankets, towels, and a cup of hot tea for each. The old woman held the warm cup with shaking hands. "Thank you. We haven't eaten since morning." Noah gasped. "Daddy, they didn't eat anything?" Jason went to the kitchen, quickly preparing soup, bread, and fruit. He placed it on the table. "Please eat. Take your time." The old man whispered, "You are kind, son. Too kind. It will cost you." Jason frowned. "Why?" The old woman looked down. "Our son joined the HOA board last year. He thinks we embarrass him. He doesn't like people knowing he grew up poor." Jason felt his heart break. The old man added, "He moved here and told us we could visit once. After that, he cut us off. Said we weren't good for his image." Jason sat down slowly, feeling anger twist inside him. How could a man abandon his own parents? Noah climbed onto the couch beside the old woman and asked, "Do you have names? I want to know your names." The woman smiled weakly. "I'm Amina." The old man nodded. "And I'm Rafiq." Jason repeated the names softly, letting them settle in the room. Amina, Rafiq, two people who deserved love, not rejection. As they ate, Jason's doorbell rang, hard, sharp, almost violent. Noah jumped. Jason stood. "Stay here." He opened the door and found HOA President Catherine Marlowe standing on his porch, umbrella closed, rain dripping from her expensive coat. Behind her stood two guards. Her cold eyes scanned Jason's living room through the open door. "I heard," she said calmly. "You brought unauthorized individuals into this community." Jason felt his jaw tighten. "They are elderly people sitting in the rain. I helped them." Catherine tilted her head slightly, her expression like carved ice. "That is the problem." Jason stepped outside and shut the door behind him. "What problem?" he demanded. She leaned closer, her voice low and sharp. "You violated HOA rules. You gave shelter to people who have not been approved. Their son specifically stated he did not want them entering. Even he follows the rules." Jason clenched his fists. "They're his parents." Catherine didn't blink. "And? Rules apply to everyone. Jason took a deep breath. They were being treated like trash. Her cold smile grew. That is not the HOA's concern. He felt fire rise inside him. What is wrong with you people? Catherine stepped back. I am issuing a formal violation. If you refuse to remove them, we will escalate. Jason whispered, voice shaking with anger. Escalate to what? She didn't answer. She simply turned, walked away, and said only one sentence before leaving. You have exactly 2 hours to fix this mistake. The rain hammered the street. Thunder rolled above. Jason stood frozen, because he knew this was not just a warning. It was a threat, promise, and the HOA kept their promises. Inside the house, Amina and Rafik sat unaware of the storm gathering. Noah looked at Jason with innocent eyes. Daddy, are they going to stay with us? Jason swallowed hard. Yes, Noah, he whispered. They're staying. I won't send them away. And with those words, the battle line was drawn. The HOA wanted to break him, but Jason had lost too much in life already. This time, he would fight back, even if it shattered the whole neighborhood. The rain finally softened outside, but inside Jason Hale's small living room, the air felt heavier than ever. Amina and Rafik sat wrapped in warm blankets, their fragile bodies still shaking from the cold and fear. Noah sat close to them, as if guarding them with his tiny presence, offering them small smiles every few seconds. It was the first time in hours the old couple looked a little safer. But Jason's mind was drowning in the storm that Catherine Marlowe, the ruthless HOA president, had just unleashed on him. 2 hours. Her cold voice echoed in his head like a ticking bomb. 2 hours to throw these people back into the rain. 2 hours to betray his own humanity just to satisfy a rulebook made by power-hungry board members. 2 hours before the HOA would escalate. Jason didn't know what escalation meant, but he had lived in this neighborhood long enough to know one thing. When the HOA wanted to destroy someone, they never failed. He took a deep breath and stepped into the living room. Amina looked up, her eyes full of worry. Is everything all right? Jason wanted to lie. He wanted to say yes, but he couldn't lie to people who had already been lied to by their own son. You're safe here, he said softly. That's all you need to know right now. Rafik looked down at his hands, aged and trembling. We don't want to make trouble for you, son. If we leave... No, Jason's voice snapped louder than he intended. Noah looked up quickly. Jason softened his tone. No one is kicking you out. Not today. Not ever. The old woman's lips shook. But your HOA... The HOA can go to hell, Jason whispered, more to himself than to them. A sudden knock hit the door. Fast, sharp, aggressive. Noah flinched. Amina grabbed Rafik's arm. Jason's heart dropped. That knock, it wasn't friendly. He opened the door slowly, and his stomach twisted. 3 people stood outside. HOA board member Leonard Cook, wearing a perfect navy suit even in the rain. Behind him stood 2 guards, both holding clipboards, both staring at Jason like he was a criminal. Leonard smiled, the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. Good evening, Mr. Hale. We're following up on a complaint. Jason felt heat rise in his neck. Complaint? They were sitting in the rain. Leonard raised a hand. Please, don't dramatize it. We're just here to remind you that our community rules exist for a reason. Jason crossed his arms. Your rules would have let them die out there. Leonard's smile faded. That's not our concern. Their son signed the papers. They are not allowed inside the neighborhood. He abandoned them, Jason said through clenched teeth. They are old. They needed help. Leonard stepped closer. Rain dripped from his umbrella onto Jason's boots. You have one job as a resident. Follow the rules. You gave them entry. You're housing them. That is a clear violation. One guard handed Jason a paper, the ink protected in a plastic sleeve. Notice of HOA infraction. Level 1 penalty. Fee, $800. Deadline, 48 hours. Jason didn't even blink. You think a fine scares me? Leonard chuckled softly. Mr. Hale, that's not a fine. That's just the starting point. Jason felt something crack inside him. What does that mean? Leonard's smile returned, sharper than before. If they don't leave, we issue level 2. Then level 3. Then your property goes under review. Jason froze. Review for what? Leonard looked past Jason into his modest living room, scanning the older furniture, the worn carpet, the little marks on the walls left from Noah's toys. For community standards, he said softly. You know your house isn't exactly compliant. Jason's chest tightened. They had complained about his paint, his lawn, his mailbox, his old fence. They wanted him gone for years. Now they had a weapon. Get out, Jason whispered. Leonard raised an eyebrow. Excuse me? Jason stepped forward, lowering his voice so Noah wouldn't hear. Get now. Leonard's expression twisted into disgust. You're making a big mistake. Jason slammed the door in his face. The sound echoed through the entire house. Noah ran to him immediately. Daddy? Daddy, are they going to hurt us? Jason knelt beside his son and held his shoulders. No, buddy. They're just bullies. Bullies with papers and rules. But they don't get to decide what we do. Noah's voice softened. They don't get to take Grandma Amina away, right? Jason blinked. His heart jolted. Grandma Amina. His son already felt a bond with them. Something warm, something innocent. Something the HOA would never understand. No, Jason whispered. They won't take them. In the kitchen, Amina wiped her wet eyes. She had heard everything. Rafik stared at his hands again, ashamed. We are causing this, he whispered. This is our fault. We should leave. Before they hurt you. Jason stepped into the kitchen. Stop. None of this is your fault. You didn't ask for this. You didn't deserve this. Amina's voice trembled. But the HOA doesn't get to decide who I help. His voice cracked. They tried to break me after my wife died. I won't let them break anyone else. Silence filled the room. The kind of silence that holds both fear and strength. Rafik took a deep breath. Jason. Sometimes good people lose because the rules are made by the cruel ones. Jason shook his head slowly. Not this time. He didn't know how he would fight them. He didn't know what would happen next. But he knew one thing, Amina and Rafik were staying. And the HOA was going to rage. As if the universe was listening, Jason's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. A cold voice filled his ear. Mr. Hale, HOA Enforcement Unit. You have failed to comply. Level 2 violation initiated. Jason felt blood drain from his face. What does Level 2 mean? The voice replied calmly. Daily fines begin immediately. Property inspection scheduled. Legal review pending. Jason breathed hard. You're threatening me. Not at all, the voice said. We're following the rules. Click. The call ended. Jason stood frozen. The room spun. His hands shook. They weren't going to scare him, they were going to destroy him. Financially, legally, structurally. He leaned against the counter, closing his eyes. His wife's voice whispered from memory. Jason, when you help someone, never regret it. A soft hand touched his arm. Amina. She looked up at him with eyes filled with years of pain, fear, and love. You are fighting a big machine, she whispered. We don't want to be the reason they ruin your life. Jason looked at her, really looked. Her frail body, her shaking hands, her worn-out clothes, and he saw not trouble, but two parents who had been thrown away like old furniture. Two people who spent their whole life giving everything to a son who treated them like a stain. Two souls who deserved love, not rules. No, Jason whispered. They don't get to win. Amina's voice cracked. Why help us? Jason swallowed the lump in his throat. Because someone once helped me when the world collapsed. She blinked slowly. Your wife? Jason nodded. When Noah was born early, she almost died. A stranger helped me carry her to the emergency room. He saved her life. If he hadn't been there, I would have lost her that day, not years later. Amina placed her hand on his. You still carry her kindness. Jason's eyes filled with tears. He didn't wipe them. He let them fall. Then he took a deep breath. We'll fight the HOA together. Rafik looked confused. But how? Jason exhaled. I don't know yet, but I know this. He pointed toward the window, toward the giant HOA gate glowing under the streetlights. They think they can control everyone with fear. But fear stops working when good people stand up. Just then, a loud vehicle engine roared outside. Noah ran to the window. Daddy, more HOA cars. Jason's heart stopped. 3 black HOA vehicles parked outside his house. 6 guards stepped out. Catherine Marlowe stood in the middle, her umbrella open like a crown of power. No one spoke. No one moved. She stared at Jason's house with the calm, cold patience of someone who had already decided the ending. Jason whispered, "It's starting." The air felt heavy. A storm bigger than rain had arrived. And Jason knew this night was just the beginning. Night wrapped the HOA neighborhood like a cold fist. The rain had stopped, but the silence outside Jason Hale's house felt heavier, darker, and more dangerous than any storm. The sky held thick gray clouds, as if even the heavens were holding their breath. Jason stood frozen at the living room window, watching the scene outside like a man watching his own execution arrive. 3 HOA vehicles, black, shiny, intimidating, stood outside his small, aging house. Their headlights formed sharp white lines across his lawn. 6 guards stood in a straight formation, perfectly still, as if waiting for an order. And in the center stood Catherine Marlowe, the HOA president, holding her umbrella like a weapon. Her eyes were fixed on Jason's front door. She didn't blink. She didn't breathe. She looked like someone who had been waiting years for this moment, waiting for an excuse to crush him completely. Noah clung to Jason's leg. His tiny fingers shook. "Daddy, why are they here again?" Jason placed a hand on his son's head, trying to stay calm. "Because they think they're powerful," he whispered. "But we aren't scared." Noah looked up with trembling eyes. "But Daddy, I'm scared." Jason knelt and hugged him tight. "I promise you," he whispered, "I won't let anything happen to you, or to them." The old couple sat quietly on the couch, wrapped in blankets. Amina held Rafik's hand tightly, her eyes watching Jason, full of fear, guilt, and something deeper, the painful belief that they were the reason all this was happening. "Jason," Amina whispered weakly, "maybe we should go outside, talk to them. Maybe if we leave, they will stop." Jason shook his head sharply. "You're not going anywhere." Rafik sighed, his voice old and tired. "Son, we have lived a long life, losing our home, losing our son, losing our dignity. We can survive that. But you have a child. If they come after you..." Jason slammed his palms softly on the table, not in anger at them, but at the world. "No, you both deserve respect, care, warmth, not rain, not humiliation. You're staying." Amina wiped her eyes, her voice shaking. "Then we must face what comes." Outside, Catherine took a step forward, as if answering Amina's words through the walls. Jason straightened, his jaw tightening. The old couple's trembling. Noah's fear. The guards outside. Catherine's cold smirk. Everything inside him collided at once. He walked to the front door. He opened it. The cold wind hit his face instantly, sharp like a knife. Catherine stepped forward. "Mr. Hale," she said, her voice smooth but venomous. "You were warned." Jason didn't answer. He didn't step back. He didn't show fear. Catherine scanned the house behind him. "I see the unauthorized individuals are still here. Their names are Amina and Rafik," Jason said, voice low. "They're people, not violations." Catherine smiled as if amused. "Everything is a violation when it breaks community order." Jason's hands balled into fists. "You left them to suffer in the rain." "They were outside the boundary," she said calmly. "Not my concern. They're someone's parents." Catherine's smile sharpened. "And their son didn't want them inside. Even he obeys the rules." Jason stepped closer. "Or maybe he's ashamed of them. Maybe he doesn't deserve them." Catherine tilted her head. "His personal feelings are irrelevant. What matters is he followed the process." You did not. She signaled to the guards. Proceed. 2 guards walked toward Jason's property line with clipboards. One took photos of the house, the peeling paint, the worn wooden fence, the old mailbox, everything the HOA had complained about for years. The guard spoke loudly, as if announcing a punishment to the universe. Inspection failed. Non-compliant fence. Non-compliant paint. Non-compliant lawn. Jason felt heat rise like fire. This isn't an inspection. This is punishment. Catherine shrugged. Call it what you want. The guard continued reading. Fine recommendation. $4,000. Jason's breath caught in his chest. $4,000? He couldn't even afford his wife's medical bills years ago. How could he pay this now? Catherine studied Jason's face, searching for the crack. Searching for the moment he broke. Mr. Hale, she said softly. Your history with the HOA has been troublesome. Late payments. Refused upgrades. Non-compliant maintenance. Jason clenched his jaw, his voice tight. I was taking care of my son. I was taking care of my wife when she was dying. I couldn't fix a fence when she was in a hospital bed. Catherine blinked with zero emotion. Tragic, but irrelevant. Noah, hearing the word dying, hugged Jason's leg tighter. Jason placed a hand on his head again, grounding him, shielding him. Catherine stepped closer, lowering her voice. You've always been a problem, Mr. Hale. Your house doesn't match the neighborhood. You don't obey. You resist. And now you've brought outsiders into our peaceful community. Jason laughed softly, bitterly. Peaceful? This place is a prison with pretty houses. Catherine's eyes flashed. This is your final warning. Remove them. Now. No, the word cut the air. Catherine blinked slowly. No. They stay, Jason said. They are old. They are exhausted. You will not throw them out. Catherine's lips curled. Then we will remove them ourselves. Amina gasped from inside. Rafik gripped the blanket tighter. Jason stepped forward until he stood inches from Catherine. You touch them, he whispered. And I swear I will go to war. Catherine did not move. She only smiled, her coldest smile yet. War requires power, Mr. Hale. Then she signaled to her guards. Begin removal. Noah screamed, and oh, don't take Grandma Amina. Amina cried out, no, please. We're not harming anyone. Rafik tried to stand, but his legs failed. Jason grabbed the guard's wrist before he could enter the house. The guard froze. Catherine's eyes widened. Jason's voice became the low growl of a man who had already lost too much in life. You will not step inside my home. Catherine raised a brow. You're obstructing HOA staff. I'm protecting innocent people. Catherine leaned in. And I'm enforcing the law. Jason's eyes flared. Humanity is above your rules. Silence. Sharp. Cold. Dangerous. Catherine stepped back. Enough. She turned to her guards. Call the sheriff. Jason's heart dropped. You're involving the police? Catherine crossed her arms. You have violated safety regulations. You have obstructed compliance officers. And you have unauthorized persons in a gated community. This is now a legal matter. Amina covered her mouth as tears spilled. Rafik felt his heart thundering painfully. Noah sobbed into Jason's leg. Jason whispered to him, It's okay, buddy. Daddy's here. But inside, Jason felt something crack so deeply he almost couldn't breathe. He wasn't scared for himself. He wasn't scared of fines. He was scared of someone taking Noah away. And Catherine knew it. She watched Jason with the hunger of someone who finally found the weak spot she had been searching for. Mr. Hale, she said quietly, your late wife. Would she want Noah living in a house full of violations? Police visits? Fines? Conflict? Jason froze. The world stopped. Catherine smiled as she delivered the final blow. Think carefully, because Child Protective Services tends to notice families who cannot provide stability. Jason's vision blurred. Not Noah. Not his child. She was targeting the only thing he lived for. Amina sobbed louder. Rafik stood, gripping the couch for support. Jason, Don't let them do this, he whispered in panic. Jason stared at Catherine with a rage he had never felt before. You evil. Catherine lifted a finger. Choose. Remove them, or lose everything. Jason felt his knees weaken. He wanted to scream, break something, fall to the ground. But then Noah reached up and grabbed Jason's shirt gently. He whispered, voice tiny and broken, Daddy, we can't let them go. They're alone. We can't let them be alone. Tears spilled down Jason's face. He dropped to his knees and hugged Noah tight. In that moment, everything became clear. He wasn't fighting for himself. Not anymore. He was fighting for kindness, for decency, for his wife's memory, for Noah's heart, for Amina and Rafiq's dignity. Jason stood slowly, his voice calm, steady, deadly. I'm not choosing your way. Catherine froze. What? Jason inhaled, then spoke with a quiet strength that shook even the guards. I'm choosing humanity. The wind blew. Catherine's umbrella shook slightly. Jason continued. Call the sheriff. Call whoever you want. But you're not taking them. And you're not taking my son. For the first time, just for a split second, Catherine's expression cracked. A tiny flicker of shock. Maybe even fear. Because she realized Jason Hale was done being controlled. Done being silent. Done being broken. And a man with nothing left to lose was the most dangerous man of all. Night deepened around Jason Hale's house like a tightening fist. The HOA streetlights glowed with their usual warm golden color, but tonight that glow felt cruel, like fake sunlight shining over a battlefield. Jason stood on his porch, staring at Catherine Marlowe and her 6 guards. Behind him, inside the house, Noah trembled silently, holding Amina's hand. Rafiq stood with effort, leaning on the wall, fear tight in his chest. But Jason felt something different now. Not fear, not panic, not weakness. A slow, rising fire. A fire that had been waiting for years to break free. Catherine tilted her head slightly, studying him the way a hunter studies a cornered animal. But she didn't realize something crucial. Jason was not cornered. He was choosing to stand. So, she said finally, you refuse to comply. Jason didn't blink. I refuse to abandon them. Catherine sighed dramatically, tapping her umbrella on the ground. You're making this very difficult. Jason stepped forward. Good. She narrowed her eyes. You think you're brave. But you're only one man. Jason nodded once. And you're only hiding behind rules. The guards tensed. Catherine took a slow breath. Deputies are on their way. Inside the house, Amina flinched at the word deputies. Rafiq whispered, voice breaking, Jason, this is too much. We cannot let you do this. Please let us go. We don't want police involved. Jason shook his head, eyes still locked on Catherine. You're not leaving. But the police, Amina whispered. I don't care if the whole state shows up, Jason said, his voice steady but shaking inside. If I let you go back into the rain, if I let your son throw you out, if I let this HOA humiliate you, then I'm no better than them. Silence filled the air. Catherine stepped forward again, speaking softly, trying to sound reasonable. Mr. Hale, you are risking your home, your job, your record, and most importantly, your child. Jason's jaw tightened. Don't talk about my son. Catherine smiled. You're unstable right now, emotional, acting out of impulse. That's not healthy for a child. Jason felt blood rush to his ears. You don't get to talk about parenting. Catherine raised an eyebrow. We'll let Child Protective Services decide that. Noah, hearing that, let out a small whimper. Jason turned and saw his son's face. Pale, frightened, confused. That broke something inside him. No HOA threat had ever shaken him like that. No fine, no inspection, no board meeting. But someone threatening Noah? That unleashed a different kind of fire. Jason stepped off the porch and walked toward Catherine, slow and controlled. Rainwater from the porch roof dripping onto his shoulders. The guards shifted nervously, unsure what he was going to do. Catherine didn't move. She thought she understood Jason. She thought he was predictable. She thought he was weak. She was wrong. Standing only inches from her now, Jason said quietly, "My wife died protecting our family. I promised her I'd keep Noah safe. If you think I'm scared of your papers, your rules, or your board members, you don't know me." Catherine's smirk flickered. "You can't intimidate me, Mr. Hale." "I'm not trying," Jason whispered. "I'm warning you." Catherine blinked. "You're outnumbered." Jason shook his head. "No, you're outnumbered." She frowned just slightly. "How?" Jason pointed a finger toward his house. "Because what I'm doing is right. And you're doing this for control." His voice deepened. "It's easier for you to bully people who stay silent. But you picked the wrong house tonight." Catherine's eyes hardened. "Enough." She nodded to her guards. "Enter. Remove them." Jason stepped in front of his door instantly, blocking the path. "No one is entering my house." A guard took a step forward. Jason didn't move. Another guard stepped forward. Jason's stance didn't change. He felt fear twisting inside him, but he stood like a man made of stone. Inside, Noah grabbed Amina's hand tighter. "Daddy won't let them take you," he whispered. Amina began to cry softly. Rafik placed his hand on her shoulder and whispered, "He has the heart of a son we never had." The guards looked unsure. Their training didn't overpower a grieving father protecting elderly people and a child. Catherine's lips thinned. "You're obstructing a legal order." Jason held her stare. "You're abusing your power." Catherine snapped her fingers. "Bring the paperwork." A guard ran to one of the vehicles and returned with a thick file. Catherine opened it, flipping pages dramatically. Violation for unauthorized guests. Violation for obstruction. Violation for verbal aggression. Violation for failure to upgrade property. Violation for hostile behavior. Violation for safety hazard. Violation for refusal to comply. Jason cut her off. "You think these papers scare me?" She looked up slowly. "They will when you lose your home." Jason breathed deeply. "This house is where my son took his first steps. Where my wife spent her last night. Where I've tried my best every day since. You think a stack of papers can erase that?" Catherine's voice turned cold enough to freeze blood. "You are done here." Jason shook his head. No, his voice rose, not loud, but full. "You're done bullying me. You're done scaring this neighborhood. You're done acting like a queen. This isn't your kingdom. And these aren't your people." Catherine clenched her jaw. "You want war? Fine. The deputies will be here in minutes." Jason took a step closer until their faces were inches apart. "Good. I have nothing to hide." Then Catherine said the one thing that shifted everything. "Your son deserves a stable home." Jason froze. Not because of fear, because of fury. "You leave Noah out of this." Catherine's voice was firm. "Your behavior proves you're unfit to provide safety." Jason's eyes burned. "You don't get to decide that." Catherine leaned closer. "People like you don't belong here." Jason blinked. "People like you." That sentence stabbed him deeper than any fine. Catherine continued, "You don't fit the image. You don't follow the rules. You don't belong in a neighborhood for successful families." Jason whispered, "And what does a successful family look like to you?" Catherine pointed at Amina and Rafik's silhouettes visible inside the window. "Not that." Amina covered her mouth, tears falling fast. Rafik looked away, shoulders shaking. Noah hugged them both without understanding the cruelty thrown at them. Jason's heartbeat thundered. He stepped back, staring at Catherine as if seeing her for the first time. Not as an HOA leader, but as a cruel human who believed love only belonged to the wealthy. "This," Jason whispered, "is why I'm fighting you." Catherine didn't reply, because she knew, deep inside, that she had crossed a line even the HOA wouldn't defend in public. Then, a pair of headlights appeared at the far end of the street. Police cruiser. It drove slowly, its blue lights flashing but siren off. Noah gasped. Amina and Rafik stiffened in fear. Catherine smiled. Jason breathed out through clenched teeth. "It's time," Catherine whispered, "for consequences." Jason whispered back. No. It's time for truth. The cruiser stopped. 2 deputies stepped out. Rain began to fall again. Light, cold, icy drops. As if the sky knew the next few minutes would change everything. The police cruiser rolled to a stop in front of Jason Hale's house, its blue lights painting the entire street in cold flashes of fear. The rain returned. Not loud, but soft and steady, like the sky was whispering warnings no one could hear. Catherine Marlowe straightened her shoulders, smoothing her perfect coat as if preparing for a victory speech. Her guards stepped aside, forming a silent path for the deputies. Jason stood alone at the edge of his porch, soaked but unbroken. Behind him, through the window, Amina clutched Rafiq's hand tightly while Noah stood between them. Small but brave, refusing to move away from the couple even as fear made his breath shaky. 2 deputies approached. Deputy Carter, tall, sturdy, mid-40s, a calm face. Deputy Lane, newer, younger, but alert. Catherine stepped forward, smiling like a queen greeting her soldiers. Officers, thank you for coming. We have a resident refusing to comply with HOA regulations, obstructing HOA staff, and harboring unauthorized individuals. Jason exhaled slowly. The deputies looked at Catherine, then at Jason, then at the house. Carter asked, "Let's slow down. What exactly is happening?" Catherine lifted her chin. "He has taken in 2 individuals without approval. Their son, a respected member of our board, does not want them inside this community. These 2 have refused to leave. Mr. Hale is now preventing enforcement." Carter frowned. "Enforcement? They're elderly." "Elderly or not," Catherine snapped. "Rules are rules." Lane glanced at the guards, uneasy. Jason stepped forward. "Deputies, I found them sitting in the rain for hours. Cold, wet, alone. Their son abandoned them at the gate because he didn't want a fine. I brought them inside so they wouldn't die." Carter's eyes softened. "Are they okay?" "They're exhausted," Jason said. "Shaking. Hungry. They haven't eaten since morning. Please, don't treat them like criminals." Catherine cut in sharply. "No one is treating them like criminals. We simply need them removed." Carter turned. "Removed to where?" Catherine hesitated. "Outside the gate." Carter blinked. "In the rain." Catherine's voice thinned. "Their son will collect them when he can." Jason laughed bitterly. "He's not coming. He told them to wait in the rain because they don't fit the neighborhood image. That's it. That's the truth." The deputies looked at each other. Lane muttered, "That's messed up." Catherine spun sharply toward him. "Excuse me," but Carter held up a hand. "Ma'am, HOA rules are not state law. Our job is not to enforce your board decisions. Our job is to check if a crime occurred." Catherine's smile cracked for the first time. "Oh, there has been a crime. He obstructed authorized HOA officers." Carter didn't blink. "That's not a crime." Catherine stared at him. "He threatened us." Jason's eyes widened. "I didn't threaten anyone." Catherine smirked. "He told me he would go to war." Jason exploded. "After you threatened Child Protective Services." The deputies stiffened. Carter's face changed instantly. "Ma'am, you threatened to call CPS on him?" Catherine shrugged. "I mentioned stability concerns. A child should grow up in a safe environment. His house is non-compliant." Carter's voice hardened. "Non-compliant housing is not child endangerment." Catherine opened her mouth, but Carter kept speaking. "And CPS threats are taken very seriously. You can't weaponize them." Catherine's face reddened. "I did not weaponize anything. I simply—" Carter stepped past her and approached Jason. "Sir, can we speak inside for a moment?" Jason nodded and led the deputies in. As Carter entered, he saw Amina and Rafiq sitting quietly, heads bowed, hands trembling. Noah looked up at the deputies with scared eyes but didn't leave their side. Amina tried to stand. "Officers, we will leave. Please don't cause trouble for this kind man. We didn't mean to break any law. We're sorry." Rafiq whispered, voice small. "Just let us go. Don't let them harm him." Carter felt something break inside him. He crouched beside them. "Sir, ma'am, you didn't break any law. You're not in trouble," Amina whispered. "But the HO..." Carter shook his head. "The HOA does not outrank state law. And the law says you're allowed to be here as Jason's guests." Amina covered her mouth and cried. Jason exhaled for the first time in what felt like hours. Noah hugged Amina tightly. Lane glanced around the modest living room. The old family photos, the worn couch, the toys scattered on the floor. "This house looks plenty safe to me," Lane muttered. Carter stood and walked outside, calling Catherine over. "Ma'am, I'm going to be direct with you. These two are guests. They're not breaking the law. Mr. Hale isn't breaking the law. You can't force their removal." Catherine's eyes widened with disbelief. "You're taking his side?" "I'm taking the side of the law." Catherine bit her lip, her eyes burning with rage. "Fine. Then we will escalate legally." Carter crossed his arms. "On what grounds?" Catherine's voice rose. "Non-compliant property, hostile behavior, disrespect of the board, violation of..." Carter cut her off. "Violation of what law?" She froze. Her silence was louder than any scream. Carter spoke calmly. "HOA rules aren't enforceable by police unless a crime is committed. And right now, the only thing I see is harassment from you." Gasps rippled through the guards. Lane whispered under his breath, "Oh boy!" Catherine's face flushed deep red. She stepped back, breath shaking with fury. "This is not over." Carter nodded. "You're right. It's not." He then leaned closer, speaking low so only she could hear. "And if you harass this family again, I'll write a full report. You do not want a paper trail on this. Trust me." For the first time that night, Catherine looked afraid. Just a flicker, but it was real. She turned sharply and marched toward her vehicle, her heels stabbing the pavement with angry clicks. Her guards followed, confused and uneasy. Jason watched from the porch as Catherine opened her car door. Before stepping inside, she stared at him with eyes full of hatred. "You may think you won today." She leaned closer, her voice cold as the rain. "But I don't lose." Jason didn't look away. "Maybe that's because you've never fought someone with nothing left to fear." Catherine froze at the words. For the first time, she understood what made Jason dangerous. She drove off. Her black SUVs followed, disappearing into the dark street. The deputies approached Jason. Lane smiled. "You did the right thing." Carter added, "Call us if she comes back. Document every interaction. You're not alone." Jason nodded, grateful but exhausted. When the deputies left, Jason finally stepped back inside. The moment he closed the door, Amina burst into tears. Rafik covered his face. Noah ran to Jason and hugged him tightly around the waist. "Daddy, you protected us." Jason knelt. He pulled all three of them into a shaking embrace. And for the first time that night, Jason let himself cry. Not because he lost, but because he realized something powerful. This wasn't a fight he chose, but it was a fight he would finish. For his son, for this couple, for every person bullied by the HOA. And because deep down he knew Catherine wasn't done. She was only regrouping, and the real war was still coming. The house felt warmer after the deputies left, but the warmth was thin, fragile, like a candle fighting against a storm. Jason Hale sat on the edge of the couch, his hands still shaking from everything that had happened outside. Amina cried softly into her blanket. Rafik stared at nothing, his old eyes full of a lifetime of hurt now reopened. Noah sat between them, trying to comfort both at once, rubbing their arms with his tiny hands, whispering, "It's okay. Daddy is here. You're safe." But Jason could feel it. This peace was not safety. This calm was not victory. This silence was only the moment between lightning and thunder. Catherine would come back. And next time, she wouldn't come with just guards and threats. She would come with lawyers, board votes, paperwork, and all the weapons rich people use to crush normal families. Jason inhaled deeply. His heart hurt. His chest felt heavy. His mind raced with fear and anger. But then, Noah crawled into his lap and hugged him tightly, burying his face in Jason's jacket. "Daddy, did we win?" Jason hugged him back, squeezing him gently. "For tonight," he whispered. "We won tonight." Noah looked up. "Will they come again?" Jason hesitated. Amina watched him, eyes pleading for an answer she feared hearing. Rafiq's hands tightened on the blanket. Jason didn't lie. "Yes, they will." Noah's face fell. "Why?" "Because some people can't stand when someone does a good thing," Jason whispered. "Some people hate kindness." Amina wiped her tears. "Son, we must leave, before they destroy your life." Jason shook his head hard. "Please stop saying that. You're not going anywhere." Rafiq's voice cracked like dry wood under pressure. "Jason, we've lived with pain before. We know how to disappear, how to survive. But you have a child. You have a future. Don't do this for us." Jason stood suddenly. His voice broke as he spoke. "You keep saying that like you're not worth fighting for, like you're a burden. But you," his voice failed. He looked at the old couple, scared, tired, betrayed by their own son, and something inside him shattered. "You didn't deserve any of this." His eyes burned. "You raised a son who abandoned you. The HOA humiliated you. The world forgot you. But not here. Not in my home. Not in front of my son." Amina cried again, this time silently, the kind of cry that comes from a heart that hasn't been protected in years. Rafiq lowered his head as tears rolled down his wrinkled cheeks. Jason knelt beside them. "You deserve love. You deserve warmth. You deserve safety. You deserve someone fighting for you. And if I don't show my son what real strength means, then what am I teaching him?" Noah wiped his own tears. "Daddy, you told me once, heroes don't walk away." Jason looked at him, stunned for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Exactly." Suddenly, beep, beep, beep. Jason's phone buzzed loudly on the kitchen counter. Everyone froze. Jason walked toward the phone like someone walking toward a bomb. He looked at the screen. His stomach dropped. "Notice. HOA emergency meeting called midnight." Amina gasped. Rafiq whispered, "Emergency, about us?" Noah looked up at his father. "Daddy, what does that mean?" Jason didn't want to answer, but he forced himself to. "It means they're trying something big." His phone buzzed again. A new message, from an unknown number. He opened it. "Prepare yourself. The vote will be unanimous." Jason felt the blood drain from his face. Vote? About what? He didn't get time to think. Another message came through. "They're removing you." Jason's hands froze midair. Removing him? From the neighborhood? His heart raced. Before he could react, another text arrived. "Your property. Your membership. Your rights." Amina covered her mouth with both hands. Rafiq whispered, voice trembling, "They're going to throw you out." Noah ran to Jason and hugged his leg tightly, terrified. "Daddy, why are they doing this?" Jason's throat tightened. "Because helping you made me a target." He placed a gentle hand on Noah's head. "But I don't regret helping you." Amina stood slowly, her frail body shaking. "We cannot let this happen. We cannot destroy your life. Child, please, we will leave. Let us go before midnight." Jason's voice rose sharply. "No!" His loudness startled everyone, including himself. He lowered his voice, but the fire remained. "You are not stepping outside in this rain. You will not be thrown away again." Rafiq whispered, "Jason, they will come for you." Jason nodded. "They already did." He pointed to the door. "They sent guards. They sent threats. They tried to scare me with CPS. They tried everything." He looked at all of them, eyes fierce. "And I'm still here." Amina whispered, "But we don't want you to lose your home." Jason shook his head. "This house is just walls and wood." He placed a hand on his heart. This right here, is my home." Noah hugged him tighter. "And a home is not a house, it's people. It's love. It's standing up when no one else does." But then, a single car horn echoed outside. Sharp, short, commanding. Jason's heart skipped. He walked to the window and peeked outside. His breath froze. A single luxury car had arrived. A black Mercedes. Sleek. Expensive. Familiar. A man stepped out. Tall. Confident. Wearing a perfectly pressed suit. Jason recognized him instantly. He had only seen him once in the neighborhood newsletter. The HOA treasurer. The son. Amina's and Rafiq's son. The man who abandoned them. He walked toward the house with purposeful steps. Eyes cold. Expression sharp. Behind him, another car arrived. And another. HOA board members. All of them. Jason felt the world tilt. Noah whispered, "Daddy? Who is that man?" Jason clenched his jaw. "That's their son." Amina's hand flew to her chest. Her lips trembled. Rafiq's eyes widened in silent pain. The man reached the porch. He didn't knock. He simply spoke. His voice cold as steel. "Jason Hale. Open the door." Jason opened it slowly. The man stood face to face with him, dripping with arrogance. "You caused a problem," the man said, "and now you will fix it." Jason didn't move. "And if I don't?" The man leaned closer. "Then I'll do whatever it takes to protect this community, even if it means destroying you." Behind him, Catherine stepped out of the shadows, smiling viciously. The emergency meeting wasn't at midnight. It had already begun. Right here, on Jason's porch. And Jason realized, this war was no longer just about kindness. It was about power, pride, and punishment. And the people standing against him were ready to go to war. The night had stopped pretending to be calm. It now stood heavy and tense, like a battlefield holding its breath. Jason Hale stood at the doorway, blocking the entrance with his body while the HOA treasurer, Amina and Rafiq's son, Samir, stared at him with a coldness that felt older than anger, sharper than shame. Behind Samir, Catherine Marlowe watched with folded arms, a wolf-like smirk on her face, enjoying every second of the storm she helped create. Behind Jason, inside the house, Amina held Rafiq's arm with trembling hands, her face pale, her breath shaking. Noah stood in front of them, small but determined, as if his little body had decided to become their shield. Samir didn't bother to look past Jason to see his parents. It was as if he had already erased them from his life. He didn't even blink. He simply spoke. "You made a mistake, Mr. Hale." Jason didn't move. "No, I fixed one." Samir stepped closer, the porch light reflecting on the raindrops falling from his suit jacket. "You do not decide what happens in this neighborhood. I do. We do. The board does. And you have interfered with things that don't concern you." Jason tilted his head slowly. "They were freezing in the rain." "Not my problem," Samir said flatly. "They should have waited at the pickup point like I told them." Amina let out a soft, broken breath at those words. Rafiq closed his eyes tightly, pain twisting across his face. Jason's fists clenched so hard his nails dug into his palms. "You left your parents in a storm because you didn't want HOA fines?" Samir's jaw tightened, offended instead of ashamed. "They embarrass me. They don't understand how this community works. They always make scenes. They don't belong here. They don't match the lifestyle. Jason snapped. "They are your parents." His voice cracked the air. Even Catherine flinched. But Samir simply blinked, expression untouched. "I don't care what they are. What matters is rules. Status. Image." Amina's legs trembled. She whispered, "Beta, we came because you invited us. We only wanted to see you. We didn't want trouble." Samir didn't look at her. He didn't acknowledge her voice. He spoke to Jason instead. "Mr. Hale, hand them over. Now." Jason stepped fully out onto the porch, blocking the doorway with his entire frame. "You're not taking them." Samir narrowed his eyes. "This isn't your fight." Jason leaned closer. "It became my fight when I saw them sitting alone, soaking in the rain, waiting for a son who didn't want them." Samir's face hardened. "Move." Catherine smiled. "He won't." Jason didn't flinch. No, for the first time, Samir's perfect calm cracked. His eyes flashed with something dark, something ugly, something a child learns only when love is absent and pride is fed like poison. "Fine," Samir said coldly. "Then I'll do this the official way." He raised his hand. Immediately, 5 more HOA board members stepped out from their cars behind him. They lined up on the driveway like a private army. Rain fell over them, but none moved. Catherine stepped beside Samir, voice full of triumph. "Mr. Hale, this is a special emergency vote by majority of the board." Jason felt his heart drop. "Vote for what?" Catherine's smile widened. Samir spoke the decision slowly, every word like a knife dragged across stone. "To remove you from the neighborhood permanently." Jason froze. Amina gasped. Rafik grabbed the wall to keep from collapsing. Noah whispered, "Daddy." Jason swallowed. "You can't evict me." Catherine lifted a paper. "We can revoke your membership." Samir lifted another document. "We can declare you non-compliant and unsafe for community harmony." Another board member stepped forward. "We can suspend your right to reside until the matter is reviewed." Jason felt something cold crawl through him. He wasn't just fighting for Amina and Rafik now. He was fighting for his home, for Noah's life, for their survival. Samir crossed his arms. "Once your membership is suspended, you will have 24 hours to vacate." Jason's voice shook with fury. "Because I helped your parents?" Samir's voice sharpened. "Yes." Amina let out a choked cry. She stumbled forward, unable to stay silent anymore. "Beta, please. We raised you with love. We gave you everything. How can you do this to the man who helped us? How can you be so?" Samir snapped suddenly, his voice loud, angry, careless. "You gave me nothing." The street went silent. Rafik's hand slipped from the wall. Amina staggered back as if slapped. Noah covered his ears in fear. Jason's blood boiled. Samir pointed at them cruelly. "You were bad parents. Always struggling, always failing. I made myself. I built this life. I earned this house. And I won't let anyone, especially you, drag me down." Amina sobbed openly now. Rafik leaned on the wall, chest shaking, breath thin. Jason stepped forward. "You talk about earning this life. But what good is a life when you've lost your humanity?" Samir ignored him. He spoke to the board. "Vote." And one by one, without hesitation, hands went up. Every board member, including Catherine, except one. A new member, a younger woman with doubt on her face, hesitated. She looked at Jason, at Noah, at Amina crying silently, at Rafik shaking, at Samir's coldness. She bit her lip and lowered her hand. Catherine noticed instantly and hissed, "Marina, vote." Marina whispered, "This is wrong." Catherine's voice turned razor-sharp. "Vote." Marina looked at Amina again, her trembling hands, her broken heart, her soaked shawl, her eyes that loved a child who no longer loved her back. Marina whispered, almost to herself, "I can't." Catherine stepped toward her like a predator. "You can, and you will." But Samir interrupted her sharply. "It doesn't matter. Majority already passed." He looked at Jason. "You're out." Noah screamed, "No, Daddy didn't do anything." Samir ignored him. He stepped forward, face to face with Jason, close enough to feel each other's breath. "You have 24 hours, he whispered. Jason stared, heart burning, voice cold, steady. "You're a disgrace." Samir smirked. "And you're leaving." He turned to walk away, but his mother's voice stopped him. Soft, broken. "Ike din. Tumbi bohata kelly hojeoge. One day, you will be very alone." Samir paused for a tiny second, but never turned around. He walked away. The board followed. Catherine paused at the end of the driveway. She looked at Jason, a wicked smile spreading like poison. "You will regret standing against me." Jason didn't blink. "I will never regret standing for them." Catherine's eyes narrowed. "This is only the beginning." She left. The cars drove off. The lights faded. The silence returned. But the silence was worse than the storm. Jason shut the door slowly, feeling his strength crumble as soon as the lock clicked. Amina sobbed uncontrollably. Rafik collapsed into a chair, chest heaving. Noah ran to Jason, hugging him tightly. "Daddy, they can't take our home, right?" Jason swallowed hard. He couldn't lie to his son. Not tonight. He knelt and hugged Noah tightly. "We'll figure something out," he whispered, voice breaking. "We will fight." But inside, he felt the weight of everything crashing down. He saved 2 forgotten people, and now the entire HOA was ready to destroy his life. The war wasn't coming anymore. It was here, and Jason Hale had only one thing left to lose: his home.